Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. If you are new here, I appreciate you giving this video a chance. Let's dig in. This is pretty interesting stuff. Talk about the Caitlin Clark effect. Something that, of course, many people are desperate to say does not exist. But Sports Illustrated did not think through their 50 most influential people in sports list because they thought it was a big virtue signal and they could pat themselves on the back with who they put on this list that doesn't actually deserve it. But all it does is expose the truth that the media has tried to keep hidden, and that is the Caitlin Clark effect is absolutely huge. It is insane. It is monumental. And there are so many people who are getting recognition that none of us would have ever knew existed if not for Caitlin Clark. And as you can see by the title of this article, there's one right here for you, Sports Illustrated. And yes, I should have said at the beginning, Sports Illustrated does still exist. I know most of you don't know that. It is because they're irrelevant. Their sports coverage is terrible, absolutely terrible. About as many people knew Sports Illustrated existed as knew the WNBA existed before Caitlin Clark. So anyway, Sports Illustrated lists Elle Duncan as more influential sports figure than Pat McAfee, Charles Barkley. Now, to be clear, I looked at the list and we'll scroll through it a bit because there are some other people on it as well. She's not ranked higher, folks. She is on the list with a number of other people that are on it clearly because of Caitlin Clark. Pat McAfee and Charles effing Barkley not on the list. Let that sink in. It is important to absorb this information. Elle Duncan is on this list, most influential sports figures, but Pat McAfee and Charles effing Barkley are not on the list. I mean, right there. Who would take this list seriously? This list is clearly gibberish. It's probably been written by AI, most likely probably the big G's AI. um, because no human being would do this. I mean, look, let me know in the comments. Be 100% honest. And look, you may have heard the name in passing at sometimes, but in terms of really knowing who she is and what she brings to the table in her professional career, how many of you had heard of Elle Duncan before Caitlin Clark came into the WNBA and Elle Duncan got together with Chimey and Andrea and Monica and decided to put together a women's media hate campaign directed at Caitlin Clark? I bet you 98% of you didn't even know anybody that I just mentioned existed until they started throwing hatred at Caitlin Clark. I don't know that I would call that person one of the 50 most influential people in sports because it is a combination. This is not sports media, folks. This is sports. So these are I think they divided it up into like icons, athletes, um, maybe I think movers and shakers, so like people behind the scenes where you get like league commissioners and investors and that sort of thing, and then what they deemed influencers, which is where you would get like your Stephen A. Smith, who was on the list and should be. That's where someone like Pat McAfee or Charles Barkley would have been as well. But they had to make do, or I should say room, for people who don't deserve it because, again, pat on the back, virtue signal, nonsense. It's just, no argument so far after rattling off a few of the media people. But then came a more puzzling entry. SI listed ESPN's WNBA studio team of Elle Duncan, Tiny Aguamike. I like saying it like that, even if it is, I think it's right now. I think I finally got it. But even if it's wrong, too bad because I enjoy it. Aguamike, I like that. It's like Satu Woo! Anyway, and Andrea Carter. And as this article points out, they're not even among the 50 most influential figures in sports media, let alone all of sports. And again, all of sports, as you see, that means icons, which they did put in there. It means icons like LeBron James and icons like Tiger Woods. By the way, I would still consider Michael Jordan one of those icons, but he is not on the icon list. But yeah, that's a no to the WNBA studio. And as you see, some other people they didn't mention: Dave Portnoy, Michael Strahan, Colin Cowherd, Adam Schefter, Bill Simmons, people that could have been on the list for sports media as well. I mean, McAfee got an insane amount of money from ESPN to go from independent to ESPN licensing his program. Barkley and McAfee, I'd say the same way. And look, Stephen A. Smith as well. Um, they, I think overall, while all of them drive me absolutely insane at times, I think overall they are important to the discussion and they do well because they will say unpopular things at times that no one else would say. Yeah, they also sometimes will cave and cover themselves, and I get that too. But they will say things that are unpopular. I mean, look, we can go back to, and this is why I say Caitlin Clark effect. Part of that campaign, the anti-Clark campaign by the likes of now Monica. I wonder why maybe she's not officially on that WNBA studio team. Is that what it is? Because I would have put. I'm surprised that these three are here, but Monica is not. But when Steven was making his point about the Olympic team and so forth, and they all got like just lost their minds, blood shooting out of the eyes, and it was absolute crazy. That's kind of where they made their name. And look, to that point, Monica McNutt even said it when she went on with Jon Stewart. She said she admitted. She said she was there because of Caitlin Clark. And that was 100% true. 100% true. Now, I know, I know that a lot of Caitlin Clark fans are very unhappy people when it comes to Jason Whitlock right now because he's been critical of her lately. However, I think you will agree with this post of his on X where he says, here are 9 women listed as one of the 50 most influential people in sports. Again, not sports media, all of sports. Not one of them would be on this list without Caitlin Clark 100,000 million gazillion percent. Yes, that is a number. Candace Parker, Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, Juju Watkins, Flau'jae Johnson, Kathy Engelbert, Elle Duncan, Andrea Carter, and Chiny Aguamike. Guys, I'm not making fun of her. I'm just having fun with the name. Uh, Candace Parker is on here as an icon, as I will show you. Candace Parker is on here as an icon. Here we've got the 50 most influential figures in sports: LeBron James, Tiger Woods, Simone Biles. I don't know if I'd have Simone on. I mean, in an Olympic year, yeah, I guess you would have it on here. But I don't know. In general, I don't know if I'd have her on here. Nothing against Simone. Love Simone. She's incredible athlete, extremely well known. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Dan Hurley, Bob Bowman, Don Staley, blah, blah, Pep Tom. But look, Candace Parker, these are the icons, folks. You saw how big those names are. Michael Jordan's not here, but Candace Parker is. And look, I want to make clear, none of this is criticism of Candace Parker. Candace Parker had a phenomenal basketball career. It just so happened, and it's not her fault, she played a women's sport that did not get a lot of attention when she played. And yes, I differentiate that to specific sport because the women's U.S. national team in soccer are rock stars, and they've been rock stars for almost as long as the WNBA has existed. It didn't mean they didn't have issues or fights or anything in terms of being a women's sport versus the men and all that, but they they were not anonymous. All right, they were not an anonymous team. They were not anonymous athletes. But Candace Parker, unfortunately for her, she kind of played in anonymity, and that's not her fault. But it also means there's no way that she is an icon because, again, most of the fans, most sports fans, right? Again, this is icon list here, folks. Most sports fans don't know who Candace Parker is. A lot of fans who came to the WNBA because, again, Caitlin Clark and the Caitlin Clark effect didn't know who Candace Parker was. Yes, that is true. New fans to women's basketball because of Caitlin Clark aren't going to know all the history of women's basketball. And so what? That is one of the, I'm going to get off topic, but I'll say this real quick. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. This whole gatekeeping idea that you can't be a fan or have an opinion unless you've done your research and you know every single thing about an entire sports league before you started being a fan. Absolutely absurd. But again, Candace Parker is on this list because of Caitlin Clark. That's no shade to Candace. It's not her fault. She was as good as she could be at what she did. It just so happened that what she did at the time didn't get a lot of attention. But she is here because of Caitlin Clark. By the way, and I think of this when I see Lionel Messi, just to be clear, you have Candace Parker on here, and I'll even go up to some of the others if you want me to use a guy, Bob Bowman. Now I know big things with Michael Phelps, who's Michael Phelps' coach and all that, but again, I don't know, influential in all sports. I don't know if I would put him on an icon list. I don't know if I'd put Dan Early on an icon list yet. Because be clear, Cristiano Ronaldo is not on this list. But anyway, I want to scroll down. I know I'm getting off topic a little, but these lists give you lots of things to talk about. Athletes. Now, it's not in any particular order. So they could really, I wouldn't have a problem with Patrick Mahomes being here because you're getting people to read. It makes sense. It's name recognition. By the way, I would put Caitlin Clark in the icon list myself. Yeah, she's a 22-year-old rookie, but are you kidding? You're looking at the influence yet again. 20% of this list is here because of Caitlin Clark, folks. That's iconic. Her logo 3 is iconic. By the way, look what they put second. Someone you would never even know existed, again, without Caitlin Clark. You can yell and scream and cry your delicious tears if you want, but that just is the truth. No one, obviously, when I say no one, it's a little hyperbolic. Yes, there were some people, but in general, I'm going to say no one knew or would know who Angel Reese was if not for Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese's behavior after that 2023 championship game, NCAA championship game. Gee, you know who else is on here? A'ja Wilson. Again, other than the 17 WNBA fans that existed before this year, I'm sorry. I'm tweaking people a little bit there to upset them on purpose. But again, a league that's never turned a profit in 28 years. A'ja Wilson. Nobody knew who A'ja Wilson was until Caitlin Clark. That just is what it is. And then finally, we're going to scroll now. I will say, at least she did get her picture way down here. Yeah, finally, we're going to put Caitlin Clark on the list. There she is. And I want to call out, it just says CB, so I don't really know who wrote this, but I want to call out because I do love this last sentence. It's really well said. For all that's swirling around Clark, perhaps what's most impressive is her commitment to always bringing it back to the main thing, basketball. 100%. I think that's one of the reasons her fan base is loyal and has continued to grow is because they appreciate that about her in today's age with athletes getting into so much other nonsense and some of the dumb things they do and say. It's great to just see somebody ball. It really is. But that look, Juju Watkins again. Nothing against Juju, but would a sophomore bas- women's basketball player be on the list of 50 most influential people in sports that does not have the likes of a Michael Jordan or Cristiano Ronaldo? Would she be here if it weren't for Caitlin Clark? The Caitlin Clark effect. Executives and deal makers, check this out, folks. Yeah, there she is, Kathy Engelbert, WNBA commissioner. In what way is she influential? She is influential in 0 ways. She's been in office for 5 years. The WNBA has lost money every single year. And by the way, that growth, we're going to do another video on that because that growth these last few years they keep talking about. And then Caitlin Clark was at the tipping point. No, that's not true. That's not how it's been happening. And then this, the player's experience has changed. Finally, no more commercial air travel as the league has tapped into a new kind of cultural power. Kathy Engelbert has zero to do with that. That is Caitlin Clark. The cultural power they tapped into to no longer fly commercial is the Caitlin Clarkonomics, the Caitlin Clark effect. It is the money generated by Caitlin Clark. Oh my lord, these people are tying themselves in the knots for nonsense. And then I think that's it. Of yeah. And then you got Stephen A. and the pod. Oh yeah, that's right. The fun Lewis Hamilton. Shout out to the Ben Danley podcast. I think he would be happy that Lewis was on here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but I'm pretty sure you would say yeah, he's on there. Anyway, where is it? Here you go, ESPN studio team, folks. El Andrea and Shiny, absolutely nuts. No one would ever know who they are or were if it weren't for their hate campaign directed at Caitlin Clark. That just, again, that is what it is. Elle Duncan, you know about Elle Duncan if you've been following this channel because I've done multiple videos on her nonsense. It started with the early hate campaign and then going up against Stephen A. Smith when he talked about the Olympic team, and then you had her defending or apologizing to Cheryl Swoops, even though what L's little tiny bit of criticism of Swoops was actually correct, but Swoops got mad, so she apologized, and then Cheryl went and did other nonsense, and Stephen A. called her out, and then Elle Duncan attacked Stephen A. Smith, and she called Caitlin Clark fans. Yes, she did. She called them is, and that is the person they're putting on this most influential list. A person whose name you only know because of her hate directed at Caitlin Clark. Absolutely insane. And look, I was gonna play this, but I don't think I am now. But because it's not worth it. But you can go check it out. Clay Travis. I'm sure it's everywhere actually because I saw a lot of stuff on this. But they were talking about Tua's concussion, the Miami Dolphins quarterback, and Stephen A. was talking about the traditional how men think and their traditional roles. You know what people now would call toxic masculinity that 2 years ago was just normal. Um, and about being a provider, and he talked about how much he worked and that wasn't always okay with his family, but it's what he felt he had to do, and you make sacrifices because he wanted to provide and so on and so forth. And Elle Duncan's response, I don't know if she felt like offended or insecure because of what Stephen A. Smith said about the men's role, but she went from that a discussion on ESPN, the sports network, right, about Tua's concussion, and she started talking about the sacrifices she made for her family by getting a C-section. Like, I don't even know what to do with that. I, other than to say she's nuts. She's unhinged. She's got mental problems. I mean, I don't. That's mean, but I mean, really, like women. I know I do have women who are Clark fans who listen to my WNBA related videos. Let me know in the comments below. Would it ever cross your mind in a discussion about whether Tua should play again because of having a concussion, so many concussions? Would you ever think to leap to, as a woman, I make sacrifices because I had a C-section? I would be curious as to what y'all say, but I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts about this list in the comments below. Do you think any of these, I guess, what was it, 9 or 10 mentioned? Do you think any of them would be on this list if Caitlin Clark didn't exist? That's my big question for you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please don't forget to also smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. It helps so much. I know I say that all the time, but it is crazy how much it helps with YouTube saying, hey, we're going to show this video to more people. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Have a good one.